Elon Musk, love him or hate him, but he just became the first trillionaire in human history. And 4 days before that, he unveiled something built to kill a stock you might own. It's called AI-1, a flying supercomputer wider than a Boeing 747 built to run AI from space. IREN builds its data centers here on Earth. So if the richest man alive just moved data centers to orbit, how long does IREN actually have? I'm starting a clock today to find out. There's a few key things tied up in this entire thesis. Number one is the real date SpaceX has given for space data centers, not the sci-fi headline. Two, the actual size gap between one satellite and IREN's power today. And number three, the risk that's hitting IREN stock right now, and it has nothing to do with space at all. Right now, IREN trades at about $38, so let's get stuck in.
Welcome to the game, it's the Distant Stocks by Mikhail Kuhar.
And if you're new to this channel, my name is Mikhail, and one of my highest values in life is freedom. It's how I've been able to live remotely for the last 8 years and contribute and do the things that light me up in life. Giving back to charities for kids that are homeless, left on the street by their parents, supporting my fiance in a dog rescue charity where she saved over hundreds and hundreds of dogs, and also choose whatever the hell I want to do on a random Tuesday. And a lot of people in the investing market are looking for freedom. And if you have time without money, you don't have freedom. If you have money without time, you don't have freedom. And that's why we've developed the AutoPilot software over the last 4.5 years to give our clients results like this, this, and this. We're big believers that if you only do one thing, you do it all the time, you get really damn good at it. So we only trade the US stock market and we only trade options. All you need to do is switch the software on before market opens, let our team of pro traders take care of things for you, because who would you prefer to be in the markets? Trading for you. Yourself, managing a job, business, family, or a full-time trader that is able to trade directly from your portfolio. The great thing is all your money stays completely in your account. They just send a signal through our software to trade a percentage. Now, risk management is one of our highest values, so we never put more than 5% into each trade. So if you have at least $10,000 in your portfolio, you can get started with us. So click the link below or go to x10daytrade.com, book a call with myself. I'll walk you through everything we do on the back end, because you deserve your money to be working as hard as you do. Outside of that, let's get stuck into today's video. So let's look at this. Now, if I dismiss this whole thesis, you should probably stop trusting me. Space data centers rest on two massive advantages. Advantage one is power. A solar panel in orbit isn't blocked by night or clouds. It gets sunlight almost nonstop. On Earth, power grids are strained and getting more expensive. Musk's argument, and it's hard to dispute, power on Earth gets harder over time. Power in space gets easier over time. The second advantage is the cooling side of things. AI chips throw off huge amounts of heat. Cooling them on Earth burns huge amounts of water and electricity. That's exactly why communities are fighting new data centers near them. In space, the theory goes you radiate heat into the freezing vacuum for free. And SpaceX isn't just talking. It built real hardware. AI-1 has 150 kilowatts of peak compute power. That's the measure of how much electricity its computers can draw and use. For reference, 150 kilowatts of power could power anywhere from 15 to 30 average size homes. About 120 kilowatts is what it can do running normally. It has a 70-meter wingspan of solar panels and a 110 square meter radiator built to dump heat into space. SpaceX filed plans with regulators on January 30, 2026 for a constellation of up to 1 million of these satellites. And here's what makes it more than a fantasy. SpaceX already rents AI computing for real money right now on the ground. The reports say Anthropic pays SpaceX around $1.25 billion a month for computing power. Now, Google reportedly pays $920 million a month. So an orbital plan isn't a dream. It's an extension of a compute rental business that already prints real money. SpaceX also merged with Musk's AI company xAI back in February 2026. So it now has the AI talent to go with the rockets. That's a serious effort from the most capable rocket company on Earth. I'm taking it very seriously. So for what Musk has been able to do with rockets and bringing them back to Earth, and the leaps and bounds he's taken, the space exploration side of things is massive. So I'm taking this very seriously. There's a gap though between SpaceX is building space data centers and space data centers compete with IREN. That gap is very much just measured in years. The proof behind that is SpaceX plans to launch its first AI-1 satellites in early 2027. Just 2 of them, not 1 million. 2 test satellites more than half a year from today. The factory meant to build these at scale is called Gigasat in Bastrop, Texas. It isn't even targeted to be running until the end of 2027. And the part a lot of the headlines skip is nobody has a working AI data center actually operating in space right now. They also never used to have rockets successfully land back on Earth a while ago too. So its designs, filings, and 2 unlaunched prototypes. That's the hardest unsolved problem, is cooling. And knowing that nobody has AI data centers working in space right now, essentially like its designs, filings, and 2 unlaunched prototypes inside of this company. The hardest unsolved problem is cooling. There's no air and no water in space to carry heat away. One independent physics breakdown published this June argued A1's radiator may not even be large enough to cool the compute SpaceX says it will carry. That's a real open engineering dispute, not settled science. Then there's the money. Launching and running a server hardware in orbit costs far more than racking it in a Texas warehouse. You can't send a technician to fix a broken chip in space. You just write it off. Even Amazon Web Services' own CEO said this year the industry is, quote, pretty far from 1 million space data centers. He called the idea just not economical. Well, a lot of things were never economical at the start. Look at computers. The first ever computer that was built, that was costed you so much money. And the first one that a Mac can do right now probably wouldn't even fit in my guest room here. But the number that really starts the clock is a widely cited feasibility study from late 2025. It says space data centers only become cost competitive once launch prices fall to around $200 per kilogram. Now that might happen around 2035, only if SpaceX Starship rocket scales to around 180 launches a year. 2035, roughly 9 years out. Even Jeff Bezos, who's building his own space bet, called Musk's 2 to 3 year timelines, quote, probably a little ambitious. 2 prototypes in 2027. Real economics may be around 2035, and SpaceX isn't even alone here. Blue Origin has its own competing satellite plan, targeting deployment around the end of 2027. China has its own orbital compute ambitions too. A crowded field of well-funded rivals, all still stuck at the filing and prototype stage. It's a field years from real operating competition. So if we look at this timeline for a moment, January 30, 2026, the FCC filing for 1 million satellites. June 8, the A1 reveal. June 12, we saw the IPO. By early 2027, just 2 prototypes. All the way out at 2035, the point where the economics might actually work. If you look at this left to right, you can see the story is pretty obvious. Everything that matters for competing with IREN is still years away. Now, the part that really puts this into perspective is one A1 satellite runs at about 150 kilowatts at peak. Musk himself compared it to roughly 1 NVIDIA server rack floating in orbit. 1 rack. Now, here's IREN. IREN controls about 3 gigawatts of power that's already connected to the grid and running today. A gigawatt is 1 million kilowatts. So 3 gigawatts is 3 million kilowatts. Divide 3 million by 150, what's the number you get? 20,000. You would need 20,000 A1 satellites just to match the power IREN already has live on the ground today. And how many is SpaceX launching in early 2027? Picture it like this. IREN owns a working hydroelectric dam, powering a whole region today. SpaceX just unveiled a beautifully engineered portable solar panel and announced it wants to build 1 million of them, starting with 2 test units next year. It's a very impressive panel, but not a fair comparison right now. Here's what we see laid out side by side. So there's a few comparables to look at. I'll bring it up on screen now. You can see here one of the biggest things long-term is going to be the cooling projection on what it takes to keep these AI data centers cool. Now, Musk says cheaper than Earth in 2 to 3 years. The credible study says not until around 2035. This scale gap compounds with everything else. Even if cooling gets solved and the economics work by 2035, SpaceX still needs tens of thousands more satellites to rival ground-based compute. That's a monumental multi-year undertaking, even for the best rocket company alive. Added up, cooling, economics, and scale all stacked together. The real threat really reads in years, likely most of the decade, not months. That's IREN's complete runway against space. The investing lesson underneath this, because it applies way beyond IREN, don't confuse inevitable with imminent. The market loves pricing an exciting future technology in as if it arrives next quarter. When the real timeline is a decade out, space compute might be inevitable someday, but it is very clearly not imminent. That gap gap is exactly where a company like IREN keeps making real money while the panic crowd sells too early. The long-term risk is Starship. SpaceX's giant next-generation rocket is the entire hinge of the space compute case because it's supposed to crush launch costs. If Starship scales faster than expected, the 2035 timeline could pull forward, and IREN's long-term value, meaning what it's worth many years from now, could start to compress because investors would price in real future competition. Nobody, including me, knows how fast Starship actually progresses. Musk has documented pattern of missing his own timelines by years. That argues for more runway, but he's also eventually delivered on reusable rockets and Starlink. That argues for taking the long-term risk seriously. So the space threat is probably a next decade issue, not a this cycle one, but a Starship surprise could compress that decade. Look at how wide the spread actually is. Musk's own claim about 2 years. Bezos, a competitor with every reason to hype his own space bet, about 6 years, and he still calls Musk's number ambitious. The independent feasibility study about 9 years landing around 2035. Even the most optimistic voice in the room is still saying years, not months. That spread is your clock in bars right here in front of you. Now, Musk is the CEO. He is the forefront. He sets the pace, the tone, everything inside of the company. If you've been inside leadership or C-suite level executive spaces before, you will understand, or even in a leadership space, you can apply this to sport too. The thing I've seen time and time again with high-level leaders is they usually set benchmarks that are a stretch for the team, because when you position the expectation, when you create the rules of the game outside of what you can currently do, your mind thinks in different ways to solve different problems. So let's use this example. Say you need to come up with $100,000 in the next 30 days because there's this amazing investment offer, it's almost guaranteed, blah, blah, blah. Nothing's guaranteed, but hypothetically. Say your family's life is on the line, right? You need to make $100,000 or XYZ happens, okay? This is a bit of a dark, this is a bit of a dark one. If I told you and you had no money and you had to earn $5,000 in the next 30 days, you've got no job, you can't use any of your money that you currently have, you start at zero. What is your level of thinking going to be? It's going to be in a way of how I can earn $5,000. What can I buy and sell? Maybe I can flip things to quickly get there. Maybe I can just get a job and just earn that in 30 days. But if I ask you need to earn $100,000 in a week, your mind starts thinking differently. It starts thinking bigger. It starts thinking and connecting the dots. What potential deals, people I know, things out there, companies, business, problems can I solve in a week to earn $100,000. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen to you, but the exercise is purely in the fact of the way we think, dependent on what's laid out in front of us. So in the years that actually matter for an investment decision today, space data centers are not competition for IREN right now. SpaceX is launching 2 prototypes in early 2027. The cooling problem is unsolved and disputed. The economics are marginal even by supporters' own admission. A widely cited study puts real cost competitiveness around 2035. Meanwhile, it would take roughly 20,000 AI-1 satellites just to match the 3 gigawatts IREN already runs on the ground today. It's not a close race. That's a decade-sized gap. The honest long-term risk is Starship beating expectations and pulling that timeline forward. A distant possibility worth monitoring, not fearing. The risk that actually live right now is much closer to home. An 18 million share, roughly 700 million co-CEO stock grant. That just knocked more than a quarter of IREN's price in 5 trading days. On top of the leverage IREN already carries. Worth knowing on the other side of the ledger, Wall Street hasn't abandoned the stock over this. Bernstein still rates a buy target of $100. The average analyst target still sits well above where IREN trades today. That gap between a battered stock price and a bullish analyst floor tells you something. I personally believe in this $30 price range, this is a great buy to pick up IREN. As always, not financial advice. Do your own research, challenge everything, be objective in your thought, your decision making, your investments. You can come follow me on these other channels here where I'm covering stocks in depth every single day, stocks that can 5, 10, 20, 30x. As always, appreciate you hanging out to the end. I'll see you in a video tomorrow.